We're back. I'm Mimi and
I'm Kris.
she remembered my name this time. And what are we going to talk about today? What's getting on your nerves this week?
So many things, you know how we do. But today I want to talk about something that kind of piggybacking off of one of our previous videos about things that were surprising about living in Italy or that I didn't expect to experience when I moved here. And also something that's kind of relevant in today's world. I want to talk about microaggressions.
For those who don't know, what are microaggressions?
Microaggressions can be like comments or maybe sometimes questions that people will ask that may be offensive, but they don't realize they're either offensive or racist sometimes. So,
Like an example?
Sure, and actually, we'll be talking about.
You got millions of examples.
I've got real life examples of things that have happened to me.
But don't spoil the surprise. Go on
Okay,
then. Start off with your first whinge.
Well, one of the things that I realized when I moved here, which this is a little story I'm just going to tell quickly that's going to lead up to these
So
examples.
she was born.
I was born 20 years ago.
And a couple of months.
You know, coming to Italy, moving here, one of the things I was surprised about was how many South Americans there are in Milan specifically. Milan is very diverse. There's people from all over the world that live here. There's populations.
It's like another London, basically. It's full,
right.
Full of them.
Yeah, it's very diverse and it's fantastic.
Full of them. That sounded offensive. Full of everybody. We're all mixing together. A melting pot.
Yeah, like New York, with separate neighborhoods where people stay with their own people.
Well, you segregate yourself, like in Manchester.
Forever. Okay. So yes, that's one of the beautiful things about living in a big city like Milan is that you get to see and meet people from all over. I've actually met so many people from countries since moving here that I had never met before because
I thought you said that you didn't know of countries you didn't know existed.
That too. Oh, wow. I didn't know about a country called Iman, I think it is, and Seychelles, which I feel...
The Seychelles, where everybody goes on holiday.
I feel super ignorant saying that out loud now that I realize that it is a totally like...
they don't have the internet in the Seychelles, they won't see it.
Oh, no.
No, they do. Bad Wi-Fi, but they do.
I met someone here from Seychelles and I was too embarrassed to ask them anything else. I was just like, oh, wow. That's awesome.
I love maps. Show me where you live.
I was like,
and then
do
zoom
you have
out.
a bathroom? And then I was like...
On Google.
Yes.
Thank God for Google Maps.
Thank
Apple
goodness.
Maps.
So yes, those are a couple of countries that I know existed. Just in the same way, like people here know it because it is a very popular vacation spot, but just like Trinidad and Tobago, or Antigua. You know, these other countries that exist in the Caribbean, people aren't from
the Caribbean.
in the Caribbean.
Caribbean.
The Caribbean.
Caribbean. We can do this all night.
Actually, I use both ways.
She
go
gives
both
in.
ways.
You swing both ways.
Yeah. We
Your-
digress.
your
That's
husband-
for the last video.
Yeah, your husband will be proud. Go on. I've got a frog. A frog?
You got a frog in your throat?
I've got a frog in my throat. I'm still laughing from the previous videos. I'll go on.
Hot. In moving here, one of the things I quickly realized is that there's a big, huge South American community, like I said, and most of the South Americans here are from Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, and some of the neighboring countries. I was really surprised about that, and there's not a lot of Latinos or Hispanics from other countries here. So, for example, I've never met a Puerto Rican here. I've met quite a few Dominicans.
Dominican, you
some
took me to that
Cubans.
terrible restaurant. Don't say the name. Is there only one in Milan?
No, there's more than one.
One of the
food
many,
my people.
one of the many wonderful Dominican restaurants. There was only one bad one. I won't say the name. It's one of the many that you took me to. Many. No vegetarian food, basically. Go on. I have rice and rice.
That doesn't make it bad.
Go on.
Yeah, you had rice. Can I have the rice on rice dish?
With some guacamole or whatever it was. That
We
green
don't
stuff.
eat. No, Dominicans don't eat.
What was that green
guacamole.
stuff for you?
This is a perfect example of why we need to have this conversation. Guacamole.
I know it's green. That's why. Go on. And so?
So
The South American.
I feel like a lot of the Italians here have only been exposed to Latinos from South America.
Not literally, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I hope not. That's also
In
for the
Parco
last
Nord,
video.
probably, I'm guessing.
Probably.
Things you've told me, yeah. Well, your husband told me. But yeah, so they've been exposed to South Americans.
Yeah, so the people here are very narrow-minded as far as what Latino culture is, or like who Hispanics are.
More guacamole console.
or assuming that we all eat guacamole,
No.
like Kris.
One of you 5 a day.
Right.
My job is to just distract you continuously.
And not let me talk. So, in coming here and talking to people, obviously people are very curious about foreigners here.
They want to
especially
know
if they
things
have an American accent. People want to know. Yes, absolutely. And so I explained to people that yes, I'm American, but my background is really, I'm half Dominican and half Puerto Rican with my parents. My mom's Dominican, my dad's Puerto Rican. And by the way, Dominican Republic is in the Caribbean.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
Just like Puerto Rico. And so I met a lot of people that didn't even know what that meant, which is fine. But it's these little other comments that people make which are not fine, which is not fine. So for example, I've had people ask me, like, how is it possible that I consider myself American, yet I can speak Spanish fluently?
Because you're intelligent, maybe?
Well,
because you studied? Because...
Maybe, right? Or maybe because my family taught me a second language when I was growing up.
And God forbid.
That doesn't not make me American.
No, yeah.
So just questions like this sometimes may be not outright offensive, but a little bit annoying to someone on the receiving end of that. And so I think
that's
a lot
never
of
happened
people,
to me, surprisingly.
I wonder why.
No, it does. No.
Oh. Do people tell you all the time, oh, you don't
No,
look
here
Italian.
here in Italy.
You don't look Italian.
No, one person told me I did look Italian and refused.
That person was lying.
No, because she wanted money from me in a car park. So I said, listen, I'm English. I ended up showing her my driving license to prove I was British.
Wow.
Told her to go away, and then I reversed my car and nearly killed her. But she's still alive somewhere. Well,
Is she?
probably not alive because she was a druggie, so God knows where she is now. But go on.
So yes, just like these little comments that people will make.
These little digs.
Yeah, that's right. Well, not only digs, but sometimes people make innocent comments or
And they don't
or
realize
ask
it.
innocent questions. And yes, it comes across really. I'm afraid of using the word offensive because that sounds really strong, but it does come across as
Offensive.
a little bit ignorant and a little bit offensive. I've also had people, for example, this has happened to me more than once, where I'll tell someone they hear my accent. And so, I should tell you this. Because I'm fluent in Spanish, my accent in Italian is not an American accent or an English speaker's accent. I have a Spanish accent when I speak Italian. And Italians can pick up on that immediately, obviously.
People
And
sometimes
so,
think I'm Romanian because I use a Romanian R when I speak in Italian.
Okay, right. So, sure. And so a lot of people will ask me too about that. Oh, you say you're American, but why do you have a Spanish accent when you speak Italian?
It's like a Spanish Inquisition.
But
That's what it's called, unfortunately. It's not being
yes,
offensive.
no. for
Yeah,
real.
well, it's as if to say, why? How dare you speak our language?
But this is the thing. A lot of people don't ask in a way that it's how dare you. It's just curiosity, right? But the thing is that I have good pronunciation in Italian because I speak Spanish.
It helps.
And so it's just really bizarre that people ask me that all the time. But how can you be American when you have that accent? And so that can be.
They've obviously never been to America, these people. They don't realize that half the people in America speak Spanish.
Right. I mean, it's, yes.
Again, in
the fastest
Arkansas,
growing
probably
population
not.
in the United States.
In Arkansas, probably not, though.
No.
My favourite
There's that
state
one
is-
guy.
There's one guy.
Hey,
Your
one
relative.
guy. Yeah.
It's called Jose. Eating guacamole. I'm only doing it to wind her up, obviously. I like
He knows
Spanish
nothing
people.
else. Spanish people? Did you
Mexican
just say
people.
Spanish people?
In Mexico, they speak Spanish, no?
Listen.
Do you speak Spanish in
Ask
Mexico?
a Spaniard if they consider themselves Hispanic. That's a whole other argument for another video.
In Spain. Go on.
So, questions about questioning sort of my accent, like, oh, you're not really American. I actually had at a job someone tell me, oh, where are you from? And I said, I'm American. And he says, Well, because you have a Spanish accent. You're not American from America. You're from South America.
You're not American.
Like, he wasn't asking me. He was telling me that I'm South American.
Ah, okay, in case you forgot. Okay.
In case I forgot.
Ah,
and I was like, no, I'm American, like from the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
And so comments like that can be really annoying. And so I wanted to kind of sit down and have a chat with you about this, because people don't realize sometimes what they're saying may be annoying or even offensive.
Like when somebody wants to touch your hair.
Right. So this happens not today because my hair is up in a bun, but my natural hair is just really curly and
wild.
It's wild.
Savage.
Savage. Oh, we sound like we're doing a commercial for
Savage.
Parfum. Oh, the parfum.
Uh-huh. But we're
You're
not.
cutting that out, right?
No, leaving it in. She's obsessed with French for some reason. Go.
I know.
Uh-huh. So yeah, but even because, do you remember one of our teachers in the past is from Jamaica?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
and everybody
right.
wanted to touch his hair.
Yes.
And he's like, why?
Like it's a toy or a novelty.
And so they do the same with you.
Sometimes they do.
They never want to touch mine, don't they?
I don't know why.
Too much lacquer in it, that's why. Hairspray. Mm-hmm. It's the only way to keep it up when you're this age. Viagra for
I don't
hair.
know what he's talking about.
Go on. So?
Yeah, so things like that. So some other cultures and races, people of different races, will also complain about that. Well, they'll say that other people constantly ask really stupid or dumb questions about their hair, or want to touch it, or act like it's something fun, like a toy, not really part of who they are. I don't know if that makes sense.
So go on, give me another example of this microaggression.
So other things that I've encountered specifically in Italy is
in Milan.
In Milan.
Milan.
Yeah, in Milan.
Milan, yeah.
Is that, and this happens in other places too, but I've especially experienced that here, where people think that all Latinos are the same.
They're not.
That they're.
I'm in shock.
No, some are more
acting
sassy and aggressive than others. For example,
like Mimi Jose Melendez.
I'm not gonna lie, that is my uncle's name, Jose Melendez.
Really?
Yeah.
Ciao. Is he alive?
No.
Oh.
Thanks for bringing
Ciao.
it up. This idea that we all eat the same thing, we all have the same culture, the music is all the same.
But do you think that's because people haven't been educated and people don't know what food comes from where and what music comes from where?
Of course, that's exactly it. But as adults, it's our responsibility to become
learn
a little
these
more
things.
worldly.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about something that's super
complicated, like Shakespeare.
Super complicated or super unknown, or like this bizarre culture in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking about something that's super mainstream. I mean, Latinos are everywhere and everywhere. We're everywhere.
The Italians are everywhere, and then Latinos are everywhere.
Yeah, and some Italians will tell you that they're Latinos too. They're Latin. Latin.
I have to tell you
There's like a
something.
confusion
I have to
with
tell you
that. And some French will tell you too that they're Latin.
Really?
Because they love us.
Literally this morning, one of my students told me that her family live a couple of streets away from my family in Manchester. Really? And I went, no. She said, yeah, because in the podcast I heard your mother saying that she was in Bury, and my relatives live in Bury on road. Yeah. And I went, that's around the corner from my parents. Literally this morning that happened. I've still not told. Awesome. I've not told anybody yet. You're the first, and you're the second.
I'm honored.
And you're the second. We have one viewer. Go on. So
yeah, this assumption that we're all the same and all of that.
Food.
And like I said, we as adults and responsible citizens of this planet have some.
Responsible is a big word.
Yeah, you're right. That was terrible. I feel like we have some responsibility to know certain things in life, and I think that's one of them. To me, it's almost the same as saying all Europeans are the same. And I understand that in Europe it's different because, yes, there's different languages and whatnot, but I will tell you that even Spanish differs incredibly between countries.
Between Spain and Mexico is different as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I honestly have to sometimes adjust my Spanish so that a lot of the Hispanics that I meet here can understand me. Because my Spanish is very different than the one they speak.
Oh, okay.
And so
you know all the different ones, so you can
I don't. I honestly don't.
But you can more or less play around with it too.
I know some countries' accents and some of the words they use, but I mean, there's a lot of countries. I don't know all of the words.
And also, you don't know where all the countries are.
I have no idea.
As you pointed out before.
Yeah, I have no idea. Oh, speaking of where all the countries are, another thing people will do is that they'll just say we're all South American. Anyone who speaks Spanish, if you're either Spanish from
Or South
Spain
American.
or South American, it's like this blanket statement for anyone outside of Spain who speaks Spanish, which is another little annoying thing. Maybe that's not a microaggression, but it is annoying. That people don't differentiate Central America with South America and then the Caribbean countries.
They think it's all one.
Yeah, and I get this whole thing about, you open a book, then it'll tell you that, the islands in the Caribbean are part of the continent of, right? And so, but it's so much more than that. It's just so much more than that. And so it becomes a little bit more complicated. But just to kind of go back to we all eat the same thing, I encounter a lot of people who, like you, suggesting that we all eat guacamole. You probably cut that out earlier.
I was joking.
But it happens. People will assume that
everybody eats guacamole and tapas.
Eat the same things. Yes, that's right. Which is not right. I mean, I worked at I worked at a place here that was connected to a restaurant, and the menu was Argentinian. There was many things on the menu that were typical Argentinian. I had no idea what they were.
Never heard of them.
No, and you know what's funny? Whenever I've gone to eat out with groups of people at like either a Mexican restaurant here or an Argentinian or Ecuadorian or Peruvian restaurant, everyone sort of looks to
Ask
me
you
as
the advice.
Yes,
the menu, basically.
Yes, and I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know what that is either. And so like just these little comments.
But you should know everything.
I should.
You should, but she doesn't.
Do I?
You know a lot.
I do know a lot.
Anything else before?
Oh yeah, there's so much more. But
There's more.
There's more. I always have more.
She's
to say.
always complaining, this girl. I never complain.
He invented complaining.
On camera.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we'll see you in the next video when you want to complain a bit more.
On the next one.
On the next one, and the next one. Like I said, YouTube is a very big place. Bye.
Bye. Adios.